Welcome to Royal Exclusive News. Today's top story: could King Charles bring Prince Harry and Meghan back into the royal fold? In this video, we examine the latest reports, explore what's being said, and discuss what these developments could mean for the future of the royal family.
Wants them to shake hands. Charles has got this new Deputy Private Secretary, Theo Rycroft, who's very much a peacemaker, also a friend of William's, I am told, thinks the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous and that Harry and William need to shake hands. It's so damaging for the monarchy, blah, blah, blah. And that is one way to look at it. But I think that the British people are not going to wear this well at all.
No, I mean, I think it's a catastrophe. It's a huge story, and I congratulate you on the scoop, but it's a dark day for the country. I mean, set aside the political turmoil.
I'm going to do the Tom Cruise thing, where he gets on the...
You've got to do it. You've also... We've got a political quagmire going on, potentially a new Prime Minister by the autumn. But this is a big moment for the royal family, and it's a bad moment. It's a dangerous moment. It's an existential moment, because with Harry and Meghan coming back into the royal fold, as you say, with the subtle blessing of the king, we have more material for Spare 2. This time it's personal, the follow-up book. More material for the second season of the Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix. More material for Meghan's forthcoming memoir, Meghan, My Story. They are feeding the monster.
It's such an interesting point because, look, as we've learned and exactly from your recap, you really can't rule anything out when it comes to what's been happening with the royal family, particularly over the last decade. But this era that you've mentioned about the Netflix interviews and the memoir and these explosive interviews, is this trip, though, a signal that that is very much a thing of the past and they've moved into their, I don't know, quasi-royal era? Or do you think that there is the possibility that there's more of this coming down the line?
Well, as Tom has said, this will be half in, half out, which was expressly against what the Queen wanted. Queen Elizabeth was a very wise woman. She was a stateswoman. And she knew that this wasn't going to fly. It was just diplomatically and emotionally impossible to do that. And it's so egregious that, in particular, that interview, the deranged interview that Harry gave to ITV News in Ukraine, dressed as a burglar, in a beanie hat, like a criminal. I don't know what's going on with his style. But Harry's there in an unhinged performance saying, I'm very much a member of the royal family, very much a frontline royal. I'll be doing these royal trips. That is such an insult to the memory of the Queen. That is, as you said, it's reverse Megxit. It is tearing up a deal that he made with the Queen, who's no longer here to enforce that. The reason why he's able to do this now is because King Charles is a good man and a decent man, but irredeemably weak. He has a soft spot for his youngest son, always has done, never said no to him, always been harder on William, which is so unfair. If anyone's the victim, it's William, not Harry. And he wants to meet his grandkids. All of that has been leveraged by the Sussexes. And I think it's bad news for the monarchy and bad news for Britain.
But as you say, look, if the king has decided that a priority for him is meeting his grandchildren, potentially that is a driving force here. If they have, I mean, as you say, presumably he's across this and has given approval or wants to meet up with Harry because, of course, this reconciliation has been underway for some time and Harry's not
Clarence
going to do
House
anything.
last year is when it started.
Well, Harry's not going to do anything to ruin that at
And
this
what does
point.
he do after Clarence House? He runs to Ukraine again. He loves dangerous places, by the way, apart from London. Yeah, he's very safe in war zones, but not in Mayfair. Make it make sense. And Meghan, by the way, can go to Paris, which has got loads of, societal chaos going on as well, but not safe in London. But just to, really look at the implications of this, I think it is a huge problem, because how much alleged racism is Meghan going to be exposed to this time round? Is someone going to make a remark that would be considered, here we go again, the pantomime continues?
And I also do want to, before we move on, which, this is such an interesting topic because, as you say, there is so much in it. We don't know the implications when they arrive and how this will all unfold, but we will find out soon. But you mentioned William. We're talking about William, and I think he's such a key figure in this. Because, as you said, and multiple reports have said that William.
Well, I've done loads of reporting about this on my Substack.
Yes.
Now, it's a story that, for complicated reasons, a lot of the legacy media is nervous about talking about the conflict between the courts. But there is tremendous conflict between William and Charles. It's no secret that it goes back to William's childhood, a very traumatic divorce from his mother. William was very close to his mother. Diana used to confide in him and sob on his shoulder. As we know, William used to say to her, "Don't worry, mummy, I'll get the HRH back for you." This has all been airbrushed, and not necessarily deliberately, but it's just as time goes, airbrush might be the wrong word, but it's been subsumed into the larger picture of the monarchy. And William is a really good company man, right? He respects the fact that the royal family is ultimately a military organisation and that you follow orders and you ask questions later. And so William has gone along with it also from the point of view that he is going to be the head of this institution in one day. He needs the institution to be strong. So he's bitten his tongue. But I mean, it was on display as recently as this weekend. I'm told after trooping the colour, the whole of the rest of the family went for lunch. And I'm told William and Catherine just took off immediately, straight afterwards, because they feel very, very differently to Charles. And William, you see, he is the disciple of Queen Elizabeth, right? He when he was at Eton, and I know we're going to talk about George going there later, when he was at Eton, he used to go over the bridge every Sunday and have tea and king lessons with the Queen. He was much closer to the Queen and much more psychically inspired by the Queen than he was by his father, who was very distant, who was very preoccupied with his own schemes to, get Camilla to be Queen Camilla, which, congratulations to him, he pulled off. But there is a huge divide. I mean, even last year when I started reporting about this on my Substack, The Royalist, Tina Brown then picked up on it and wrote a story about it. And then some mainstream media started writing about it. And instantly this story appeared in the newspapers saying that actually William and Charles were really close and they were going to Balmoral for this brainstorming weekend to decide about the future of the monarchy. I mean, I was told within 5 minutes by two different sources that was a million miles from the truth, that William had gone up shooting with his mates, that he was at Balmoral, that Charles was 7 miles away at, his own house. And it's just complete nonsense to pretend that there's not a cigarette paper between Charles and William. It's just complete rubbish. And this is the absolute proof of it. What you're reporting today.
Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Royal Exclusive News. Your support helps us bring you the latest royal news and exclusive updates.
The fact that Charles is happy to have Harry and Meghan and the children come back to the UK, it will absolutely, I think it explains what was going on Saturday.
But that's so interesting, the context of it as well, when you look back through. But it's, with a decision like this, it's always reported that, as you say, that there is not a cigarette paper between William and the King. But it does appear that there are many reports that he is consulted on big decisions. Is your suggestion that you think he's not been a part of this process at all?
I think that what I will say about William is that he respects his father's rank. I'm always told that, and that he follows orders, and that is the massive difference between him and Harry. Harry could never accept that it was a hierarchical structure and that you have to do what your superior officer tells you to do.
Harry more of a rebel than his brother, more like his mother Diana. Harry more like Diana. Oh, I like his father.
Much more like his father. Very emotional, very kind of impatient, I want to get this done. William, much more trusting in the process, much more patient, much more, let's not let people know too much about our lives, let's keep a veneer, all of that. So Charles is emotionally much closer to Harry,
Tom Bower's book about King Charles is called Rebel King.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Just lastly, before we will move on, is I've mentioned the kids will be coming, is what I'm told. How much do you think we'll see of them in public? Because obviously we've not really seen much of them at all, up until quite recently on Meghan's Instagram, where we've seen a little bit more. But for the first few years of both of their lives, really, but particularly Lilibet, having been born in the US.
Well, I think we know now why their faces haven't been revealed, right, Bronte? Because this is going to be the big unveiling, isn't it?
Well, so there it is. You think we're going to have them out on display?
Yeah, because Fleet Street don't have that many heart emojis that they can put on their faces as they come off the plane at Heathrow. The whole thing is completely wild. And by the way, the big headache before we move on is that, as I said earlier, you're feeding the monster of the Sussexes. This was a dying brand. And they were quietly slipping away into irrelevance. This is a tremendous boon for Meghan.
But Mark, imagine if we didn't mention that they were coming and they just showed up,
and that's the thing.
surprised everyone on the
streets. That might be the best thing, but just briefly to say two things, which is that what it does is it boosts the idea of a rival court based in Montecito, and it's now going to be enhanced, elevated with these royal connections brought into the fold. Suddenly, more deals will come in from the United States, broadcasters interested again, publishers interested again. And then the other issue is that they're very much building the kids as the kind of future royal brand, big valuable IP in that one.
Can I ask you, Bronte,
yes.
in your reporting of this story, what's the impression that you get about their motivation to be coming? I mean, obviously, they are trying to emphasise that it's just family, that it's family, family, family. What's your sort of sense of what's going on behind the scenes?
Well, look, as you said, what I'm being told repeatedly is family, family. As someone who, I understand that, we've all got families. I think that certainly would be an element of it. It's been a very ugly few years for the royal relationships in that way. With that said, we've talked about on the show a few times, I was in Australia with the couple in April covering that trip. And there's clearly a shift. As you said, I was told afterwards by someone close to them that they would press on unapologetically with this style of thing. I think the reason it's happening now is we are absolutely in a new chapter of the Sussexes, this is the model by which they want to push forward. And I think they road tested it earlier this year. I think they've road tested it in a few other small ways, but Australia was the big one.
But
this is now the real deal.
Which is great, but guys, be afraid, be very afraid, because Australia was a hot mess and a public relations dumpster fire. So, strap yourselves in. We're going to have years of this. Tom, you're going to have to give up all holidays.
But this is going to be absolutely mental, right? Because if you think about it, what this implies is that they have got the Ravec coverage, OK? Because they have always said a precondition for coming back is that we have to have the automatic Ravec coverage, or we are not coming back. So if they've got it, that means that somebody has pulled strings to enable them to have it, and they can come back now whenever they want.
I have no details on that whatsoever. So this is all very much out. But of course, with the things that Harry said in the past, of course, that makes sense.
They've backed themselves into such a corner about it, Bronte. They've said over and over again, we are not coming back. It's not safe. My wife could be a victim of an acid attack or a knife attack. It's like, guys,
whatever. I know. It's so mad.
It's kind of wild to move from acid attack and knife attack into the next topic, but I'm going to try to do it seamlessly. The British summer season. It's my favourite time of year. What I love about this current period is we've got all of the major royal events. Royal Ascot is underway at the moment. We had the Order of the Garter ceremony earlier this week, Trooping the Colour on the weekend, as you mentioned, a little bit of potential hostility behind the scenes, but also potentially a little bit of hostility out on the street. I loved watching the Trooping the Colour parade with the kids and Catherine in the carriage. But this moment that's gone viral, which it's a side of the Princess of Wales I don't think we've ever seen, when the Republic protesters were there and she's gone past with the children and they were booing. And the kids obviously were looking a bit confused in this footage, and it would be a bit obviously very confronting for small children. And the look she gives them, as someone captioned it, if looks could kill. We've not seen this from Catherine before, but I feel like she's just taking no prisoners at the moment. What do you think? What did you make of the footage?
Yeah, I thought good on her, frankly. I thought good for you. If people are going to be that, if you want to protest about not having a monarchy, knock yourself out. It's a free country. That's the whole point of the monarchy, is that you can protest against it, right? That's the whole point of the country that we live in. But if you're going to boo children, you're just an idiot, and just get out.
Well, as a parent, it did make me feel uncomfortable, because I agree with you. We're used to seeing Republic out at royal events, particularly after the death of the late Queen. But it was with the children's reactions to it. It was almost you could see that it almost sparked that maternal rage in Catherine. But something that struck me as well watching this footage, Mark, is that Catherine's always had this quality that sort of reminds me of the late Queen, in that she's from a very young age been sort of wrapped up in the royal adjacent prior to her marriage to William. So we never knew much about her before then. And then she's obviously been dating William for a long time and then married him. So we don't ever really see very emotional expressions from her. She's very careful with all of that, with her public displays. But this was, as I say, this was a rare moment of sort of seeing her real reaction to something. Do you think it was very deliberately chosen?
I think so. Well, first,
what are your thoughts on the latest reports? Could King Charles bring Harry and Meghan back into the royal fold? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this update, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news.